Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Stress and anxiety has been at an all-time high lately, and an effective way to deal with it is something we could all use. Bob and Rollie discuss the history of the emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping, and analyze the science behind this amazing mind-calming exercise. They demonstrate how to perform the emotional freedom technique and how to develop your own affirmation to use while tapping away the stress and anxiety that's holding you back. So sit back, relax, and get ready to live forever young.
Hello everyone, welcome to Live Forever Young Radio. I am Bob Gilpatrick. I'm here with Rollie Culp. And Rollie, welcome to the show. I see you have your Tampa Bay Lightning shirt on today.
Yes, that's right. We're getting ready for playoffs.
They're going to win it again this year, of course.
Absolutely.
And we'll have another celebration down at the Hillsborough River.
Yep.
Again.
Yep, we'll be taking another boat ride with the Stanley raised over our head.
Good. Well, we won't need the emotional freedom technique for that because it'll be a day of joyous.
Exactly. We won't have too much stress and anxiety. Right. Maybe just to worry about them dropping it into the water. But hey, besides that.
Right. But today we are going to talk about the emotional freedom technique.
Yes.
And it's a very popular technique that people all over the world use. Mm-hmm. And it seems like about 20 years now that it's been, it started to gain popularity back then, but more and more now every year. Mm-hmm. And they call it the emotional freedom technique because people, as they're born, they absorb information from their parents, their surroundings, and as they grow and life happens, quite often people develop psychological issues that hold them back. Mm-hmm. Whether they develop anxiety or depression or phobias.
Or they have like traumatic events, right? That
traumatic
can cause
events
these type of
cause
issues.
It. They can become paranoid. Mm-hmm. They can have neuroses.
Sure.
And instead of having to go to a Sigmund Freud type therapist and lie on the couch once a week for many years
and spend a lot of money,
right? There is now a technique that people can learn to do for themselves. Mm-hmm. And this technique, a version of it, came about many years ago, 40 years ago, and Roger Callahan was the psychotherapist that created the basis for it. Mm-hmm. And then later, Gary Craig became aware of Callahan's secret technique and was the one who really pioneered it and developed courses to teach other people how to do it. And that's when it really began to explode as a very effective, brand new type of therapy that could be used by therapists to help their clients, but also the clients themselves could learn how to do it. Mm-hmm. Now, back before this, people really weren't learning how to do Freudian therapy on themselves, right? It required you keep going to the therapist. But this changed things because now people could begin to use this technique by themselves.
It kind of made it more accessible and gave people another, like we use it a lot on the show, actually. Frequently we use it, especially when we're talking about dealing with anxiety and stress because it's so effective at it. But it's another tool that really you can use to keep your mind right, especially in times like now where we're finally kind of getting past the curve with the pandemic, but now we got to go back out into society. Sometimes you get anxious, you're a little bit nervous, some social anxiety, and so you can use these type of things to help get through that, and it's a really accessible tool, is I think the thing that was the breakthrough when they finally started to realize how effective it was. It could be used anywhere,
Yeah, maybe later we could do a demonstration of how to use the emotional freedom technique specifically related to the pandemic. And as we're coming out of the pandemic and people are now out and about and the CDC has changed the guidelines on social distancing and masks, but there's still anxiety that's lingering in the minds of some people, and we can show people how to use this emotional freedom technique to mitigate some of that.
That's a good idea. Okay. We should definitely do that.
So The emotional freedom technique is also called tapping.
Right.
And tapping is literally tapping with one of your fingertips on the fingers of your other hand. You're tapping onto the side of your nail like this, and you're going to tap on each fingertip about 5 times. And then when you get to the end of your 5 fingers, 4 fingers and a thumb, you can tap on your karate chop point like this. Okay. Now, some people also tap points on their face. We're not going to go into that part today. You can tap just on your fingertips if you want to, and it's highly effective just tapping on your fingertips.
Right. And the whole concept behind the tapping is you're actually trying to tap on your meridian points, and you're trying to wake those up. So you can basically tap into that energy flow that goes through your body, because, you know, there's always energy flowing from head to toe, and one of the places you can access it are at these points, and so you're kind of using the tap to say...
It's the end point of your meridian. So a meridian is a line of energy that goes from your fingertips or your toes and goes into your internal organs and into your brain. This is your life force energy. It's called qi in Chinese medicine. Right. And that's where acupuncture came from with the needles. Right. And that's where acupressure came from with pressing on certain points.
Right.
This is a version of acupressure, but it is a version specifically for working on yourself, your thoughts, your beliefs, your filters, your conclusions, your cognitive commitments, and your emotions that attend to that apparatus.
Cool.
Right? And so as you're tapping,
that's
the first
tapping.
part, right,
Back to tapping.
is to tap.
Right.
And then you also need to be able to repeat certain phrases which are going to help to reframe things in your mind.
Right.
So, for example, if somebody is afraid of spiders. Now, I had this case with a woman in our county that was deathly afraid of spiders, and it was disturbing her family because in Florida you see little spiders all the time.
Not only that, but they never die here. It's so hot. They get to about that big. So I could understand some phobia.
So with this lady, even the tiniest of spiders, what would happen is she would go into a panic attack, and she would scream, and she'd jump up on top of the furniture to get away from the spiders.
Not funny. That's
and
a
it
shame.
would disturb her husband, and it would disturb her little daughter, who was only 3 or 4 years old, and it needed to be tended to.
Right.
So I went to her house one day, and we did the tapping technique, and I'll show you exactly what we did in a minute. But the conclusion was that after we finished tapping, she felt much more relaxed thinking about spiders, and she actually called me the next day and said, "Bob, I think that tapping thing might work a little bit too well, because I was in my laundry room today and I saw a spider, and I went to grab it with my bare hand in order to kill it and put it in the trash." She goes, "Then I thought it might actually bite me, even though I'm not afraid of it, so I actually went and got a paper towel and killed the spider." She was totally lost all of her fear of spiders.
That's great. It went from running and jumping to, oh, wait, I better think twice.
And then she told me she could also sit outside in her lanai in a lounge chair, and there was a spider web up in the corner of the room, and she could lie right underneath it and look at it, and her fear was totally gone.
Maybe she even appreciated the beauty, like Charlotte's Web, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to do that tapping now. Now you can use it for other things that you might have a phobia, whether it's snakes.
Yeah.
Right?
Ron has a fear of snakes. Ron works here.
We'll help him with it. Okay. And then also fear of, enclosed spaces, claustrophobia.
Claustrophobia.
Fear of the water, fear of heights, fear of driving over bridges. Some people are so afraid of driving over bridges, they contain themselves in a geographic area because they won't go, say, from St. Pete to Tampa because there's no way to get there without crossing a bridge. Right? So this can become an issue. So here's how we did this with this woman on the spiders.
Right.
And so we had her start tapping.
Right.
And we first said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how afraid are you of spiders, and how big of a problem is this for you in your life?
She'd say 10.
It was a 10. And so we tapped, and she repeated after me. So, Ralph, you'll repeat after me, even though you're not afraid of spiders. We'll show people how to do it. Even though up until now, I thought I had to continue to be afraid of spiders.
I thought I had to be continue to be afraid of spiders.
I completely love and accept myself.
I completely love and accept myself.
And I'm so grateful now that I realize.
And I'm so grateful now that I realize.
The fear has dissipated.
The fear has dissipated.
I can be in their presence and have a reasonable amount of respect for these spiders.
I can be in their presence and have a reasonable amount of respect for these spiders.
And be at complete peace.
And be at complete peace.
All right. Now, at the end, cross your hands across your chest and take a deep breath in. Let your breath out. Drop your hands down and drop your chin down to your chest and breathe out. Right. And back up. So these phrases are structured, they're engineered in order to help reframing, right? Mm-hmm. So when you say, even though up until now, you're drawing a line in the sand.
Okay.
So your brain now is going, the meridians are activated, even though up until now, so like what's new? What's going to be new, right? And so then you say, even though up until now I thought, right? Not that I was or I am, but I thought that I had to be. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's relegated this to a thought, which it is. Mm-hmm. I think I'm afraid of spiders, therefore I am.
Right.
And so you've relegated it to a thought which can be modified.
Right. You can change your mind.
You can change your thoughts.
And your mind.
So even though up until now I thought I had to continue to be afraid of spiders, I completely love and accept myself, mm-hmm. right? No judgment. It's the opposite of judgment. And also, you're moving from a place of anxiety, afraid of spiders, into a more kinesthetic softness of love and acceptance.
Okay.
For yourself.
Right.
Okay. So that's why you're doing it that way.
Right.
Right.
So you're making this transition.
And I'm so grateful now that I realize. Right.
Right.
Gratitude.
Always gratitude.
For what's to come.
Always.
The more you have gratitude for what's to come, the more easy it is to draw the new you to yourself.
To get there.
Right. So you express gratitude. And I'm so grateful now that I realize. And now this is where you put in your affirmation.
Right.
I can do this. I can be this.
I can lose this weight. I can do this.
Yeah.
I got you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. And then at the end, once you've said it all and you're crossing your hands across your heart, this is a chance for you to create a peaceful feeling. Mm-hmm. So if you've said at the end, I'm so grateful now that I realize I can have a reasonable respect for spiders and be at complete peace, this motion makes you feel peaceful, right? You're dropping your chin down to your chest. This is where Rollie's brain meets Rollie's heart. Mm-hmm. And your heart is the center of soft emotions, compassion, kindness. And so you actually are creating a feeling of peacefulness that reinforces the spoken word, I'm feeling at complete peace. Mm-hmm. So you speak, I'm feeling at complete peace, and then you're making yourself feel at complete peace. Mm-hmm. Right? And so now you have this sequence of spoken words and actions while you're tapping.
Right.
While you're activating your meridians, and this gives you the chance now to reframe whatever it was that was causing you this emotional upset.
Right. This disturbance.
Thus now you have emotional freedom.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, hey, so basically what you're doing here is you are using a combination of senses to tap into the energy that you already have predetermined, or the thought that you had, mm-hmm. in order to basically plug in a new one.
Yes.
And by plugging in that new one, you can completely disconnect the old one and provide a new thought, and then therefore hopefully a response.
And that's the new you.
Correct.
That's the new you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And so when people are learning, when they're a child, they begin to form beliefs, and a lot of it's because of their mirror neurons, where they're seeing mom and dad and brother and sister and friends are doing certain things.
Right.
So they're like, okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Right? I'm going to learn this. I'm going to learn that. I'm going to learn to walk. There's everybody else walking.
I'm going to do
gonna
that
learn
too.
to walk. So you have these mirror neurons that try to create this similarity. And so children might grow up in a household where there's discordant energy or a traumatic event in the family.
Okay.
And it creates an imprint that leads to their personality. Okay? But as you get older, and you begin to acknowledge that you don't have to be exactly what your upbringing was.
Right.
Because your upbringing is continuing into your adulthood.
Right.
But now you're bringing up yourself. Right. So this is a technique that can go back and re-modify things from your childhood that upset you that you can now be free from. Okay? And
it almost gives you the opportunity to revisit something that you may not have gotten over. That way you can try to get that.
Right. So, for example, I'll just show you quickly. Even though up until now I thought that I had to continue to have this emotional upset because I felt that my father didn't love me when I was a child, I completely love and accept myself. And I'm so grateful now that I realize I'm a mature adult. I have worth and dignity like every other human. The kingdom of heaven is within me.
Right.
I am very valuable. Makes no difference if my father loved me or not. I love myself.
Right.
And I'm feeling at complete peace. Right?
Don't forget that part.
Right?
Right.
Now, what will happen is, if you look on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I feel about my father, and the upset is an 8. Once you do this tapping, the upset's going to reduce to maybe about a 4.
Sure.
Now there's a little trick you can use after that, and you can tap and go, even though I thought it was still a 4, I completely love and accept myself. And I'm so grateful now that I realize it's come down even further, perhaps all the way to a 0.
Okay.
Breathe in again. Boom. Next thing you know, you're feeling very, very light and peaceful. And it's like, how much does it bother you that you thought your dad didn't love you? It's like, it's almost completely gone. But I actually now realize there's more to it than that. And this came up. Right? And so these are called aspects, and people can then identify with that aspect. Okay? And you can tap on the aspect, and you can see it's a scale of 1 to 10, see if the aspect goes down.
Really narrow it down.
And narrow it down. Things will pop up.
Right, as you discover that, or what you were feeling about whatever, and you discover the particular thing that triggered that feeling, I could see how you might have to go back and revisit those specific aspects.
Like, for example, maybe when you were 7 years old, you did something that disappointed your dad. Okay, you did something that he was very disappointed in, and he scolded you. Right? Well, a 7-year-old's very vulnerable, and so it could be that event. And so you could tap on that event. Now, because what people will do is they will generalize and distort things. So because of one thing I did when I was 7 and my dad was disappointed, that means he didn't love me.
Right. Yeah.
But maybe it's not true. Maybe he did love you, but your young 7-year-old mind was remembering that and distorting it into my dad didn't love me.
Right.
And so now you can tap on that event.
Right.
Right? Even though up until now, thought I had to continue to carry forward the upset from that event when I was 7, I completely love and accept myself. And I'm so grateful now that I realize it was just that. My dad actually did love me, and I'm feeling that complete peace.
Cool.
Okay? So that's how the aspect part works.
That's pretty neat.
Right.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
A lot of people may have a general idea of why they're upset, but not the ability to focus in on the event or the thing that might happen. That's pretty cool.
And it could lead to something else.
Right.
And now all of a sudden they could start thinking about their mom.
Pandora's box, baby.
What about mom? What about my husband? What about my 20-year-old child?
Right, but that's all good because then you can use this technique to explore that.
Right. Exactly.
That's pretty
and
cool.
You can keep tapping.
Yeah.
And if you need help, if you can't do it on your own and you need help, you can always get a professional tapping therapist to help you.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff online too that you can always use as a resource. There's our videos, liveforeveryoungradio.com. And there's a lot of other stuff, like we said. We've got Gary Craig, all his information.
There's books about it.
All over the place. Nick Ortner's another one.
People can take classes and courses online, that type of thing.
Good. Right? It's really good.
So, Rollie, we said we would talk a little bit about post-COVID.
Right. Yes, you did say that. Yep.
And people still maybe having some lingering fear or a residual upset about the whole thing.
Right.
Some people may have even had friends or relatives that died from COVID.
Sure.
People might even have friends or relatives that got sick from getting their vaccine.
Right.
And some people may have lost their job, lost their business, things like that.
Right.
So there's a lot to tap on related to COVID.
Very much.
We're just going to pick one thing that we will relate to generalized anxiety about it. Okay?
Cool.
And so let's, you want to ask yourself first, related to this COVID thing, about on a scale of 1 to 10, how much am I still upset about the whole situation? On a scale of 1 to 10, and if 10's the worst and 1 is hardly at all. Okay? So each person picks their own, and then you can tap and say, even though up until now, I thought I had to continue to be upset about this COVID thing that's been going on, I completely love and accept myself. And I'm so grateful now that I realize it's on the wane. Most people are going back to work. The vaccination program is going along nicely, and I'm beginning to feel at complete peace. Right? Cross your hands on your heart. Right? And this will discharge this cognitive commitment that you have framed in your mind that things are bad, COVID is bad, and I still need to be under this anxiety.
Right, and I mean, you know, you see something on the news, if those things come back up, you can tap on it, you know. Up until now, I thought I had to be upset because all I heard was negative stuff, but now I realize that everything's getting better. Like you said, it's on the wane, and, you know, I completely love and accept myself, man. Move on, right?
That's it. And so this is the general idea of tapping. Activate your meridians, so that your life force energy can participate.
Becomes active.
Becomes activated, and it will participate in the reframing and the emotional freedom that comes as a result.
The reframing of the belief structure that we've been ingrained in from birth.
Yep. And if you want to watch the videos on how to do it, you'll be able to link to it through Live Forever Young Radio.
Yep, we'll have actually the links to the videos at the bottom of the blog, the written portion of the blog. So go all the way down, you'll see links to our videos. Helpful playlist, Helpful Videos is the name of the playlist on Boomers Forever Young YouTube.
Excellent. Rollie, thanks for joining us. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on Live Forever Young Radio. And we'll see you the next time.
Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Check us out at liveforeveryoungradio.com.